For those of you who don't know, maybe 2 or 3 of you out there, the Owen Whitney girls went to state for basketball. They won the first game, lost the second game, and as I heard from certain sources, like Phil, a good time was had. But win or lose, we can learn a lot from these experiences. In fact, a clever priest would probably even be able to extract a good homily from this situation. Let me know if you find one. Whenever we participate in any kind of organized activity, whether it's sports or a social event or becoming a member of a group or a society or a fraternity, there are certain expectations, actions that we do or do not do. There's a certain set of laws or etiquette or protocol. Let me tell you about Chuck. You might know him better as Charles Barkley, a basketball player, a very good basketball player. But Charles Barkley has been given the title worst golf swing in the world. You don't believe me? Type in his name and golf swing on YouTube. I did that last night. I don't disagree. And it was comical. Now, another guy that you need to know. Hank Haney. Has anybody ever heard of that guy's name? Well, he's probably the best golf trainer in the world. He's the trainer for Tiger Woods and other golfers. So, Hank Haney was training Charles Barkley, and of course, to make it a little more fun, they decided to make a show out of it. And Hank Haney had Charles Barkley hit like 1,000 golf balls with a technique, a certain move or a certain way of doing it. And Charles just was not getting the expected results in his practice. He wasn't getting what the teacher wanted him to do. Now, that was Hank Haney teaching Charles Barkley. But I would propose for you that Jeremiah the prophet is the Hank Haney of the Old Testament. He's attempting to teach the people proper form, proper swing, not for golf, but for life. And he's telling the people what they need to do to fulfill the covenant, to fulfill the relationship with God. Now, think about those drills that kids have to do for basketball or football or any sport. The exercises don't usually seem to have a whole lot of stuff going on that happen to be directly connected to the playing of the game itself. So we go through the drill. Suicide drills, this drill, that drill, and they try to teach proper posture and all that good stuff. And it's the right techniques. The coach knows that these drills must be done, these exercises, to train the body for the right posture, so that it has muscle memory, if you will. So that the proper technique is followed, the proper form is followed. And it's most evident in a Charles Barkley golf swing. Oh, he hits the ball, and if it goes straight, it's a miracle. But look at the form. And the same applies to our spiritual journey. The church gives us instructions and guidelines and drills like the season of Lent to help us prepare for the game of life. And these spiritual drills force us to focus to be better players in the spiritual life. And we must be taught the proper techniques to have success. So we refrain from eating things or doing things. We fast from certain things. And we fast from chocolate. And you think about that and you're like, ooh, that's going to help my spiritual life. That's going to scare Satan away. But it's all about training. It's all about preparing for the game. So we do things that we normally don't do because it's Lent. We look at the covenant between God and Israel. And as mentioned in Jeremiah, what did Jeremiah say? These are very good words. Jeremiah 31:31. Easy to remember. That's your homework. Jeremiah 31:31. I will place my law within them and write it upon their hearts. I will be their God and they shall be my people. No longer will they have need to teach their friends and relatives how to know the Lord. See, the law of God is written in their hearts. But we'll always need a coach to help with those fundamentals. Christ is the coach, and the church is the assistant coach. And I'm assistant to the assistant to the assistant coach. Almost a bench warmer, but that's okay. We take what the head coach has given us and apply it to our spiritual practices, to this circumstance, to this community, to this state, to this demographic group. To apply it to the needs of this community, which are not the same as the needs of other communities. Each coach, each priest, needs to see where the spirit of the community is, where they are in their spiritual journey, and apply proper techniques and proper practices, proper exercises to help. So, our Lord put it very well. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. So practicing basketball or any sport is a form of dying to one's self, in that we have to practice to get better. And the practicing isn't necessarily as much fun as playing. I don't know anybody who said, gee, I'd rather practice than play the game. There's a challenge there. In the spiritual realm, the stakes are even higher. The great coach, Jesus Christ, gives us the tools to do the best we possibly can. He gives us the greatest tool, the greatest weapon against spiritual lethargy, against falling into sin. And that tool, that weapon, is Himself. A basketball coach can't give us himself. Jesus can give us His own body and His own blood. And so, at this Mass, we are able to see what Jesus was talking about. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. So what do you got to do if you want to make bread? You got to take that grain of wheat with a whole bunch of other grains of wheat and grind them up. Mix them with water and oil or whatever to make bread. They must be destroyed, in a sense, to make something else. And so Christ is using a great analogy for Himself and a great connection for us in this Eucharist. Christ has been the seed that has been ground up and given to us under the form of bread. It still looks like bread, still tastes like bread, but it is His body and His blood. And it is through His instructions that we are able to grow, to become better at playing this game of life, to be able to better see the big picture. When He's taking us through these little drills, like the Stations of the Cross, or Mass, or devotions, or the Rosary, Chaplet of Divine Mercy, or even quiet time in prayer, all of these things are parts of the big picture. And sometimes we can't see the big picture, but when Christ brings it to us, we say, okay, Coach, JC, whatever you want to call your coach, You know it better than I do. I trust you more than I trust myself. I might not understand what these little things mean, these little exercises that I'm doing, but I trust these exercises are going to bear fruit. And so we ask the Lord to give us the strength to say yes to those little exercises that maybe at the time don't seem like they make a whole lot of sense. But our Lord has great vision. He knows us better than we know ourselves. And so today, we ask the Lord to give us that strength to die to ourselves, to live for Him. Because we do know that if we allow ourselves to be ground up like wheat, if we allow ourselves to die like the seed that falls into the ground, we will, like Jesus and all of the saints, bear much fruit.